What's up, guys? Sketchier Clown here, bringing you the first episode of my new wrestling show. Pretty much going to be talking about what's going on in the world of wrestling, things I like, things I don't like, things I would change. Just kind of bullshitting for a little bit. Different little things like that. Could get into rants, could get into raves, depends on how booking is going, and depends on how the product looks. But coming up this Sunday, we do have No Mercy, the SmackDown pay-per-view. Got the match card in front of me, so let's talk a little bit about that. On the official match card, we've got Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt. This is a match that I just don't care what happens in this match. It has nothing to do with either of the guys. Love Orton, love Wyatt. Unfortunately, Wyatt hasn't been built strong in years. He hasn't looked strong in a while, whether he's getting beat with the Wyatt family, whether he's getting beat by himself. He just hasn't looked like somebody he hasn't been built as somebody who I need to care about, which is unfortunate because he's very talented, he's very good on the mic. I like his gimmick. Everything about him is pretty great, but he's just been built so poorly. I'm fixing my hair in the camera. My pretty pink hair. Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so be aware, check yourself, self-examination, all that stuff. But yeah, Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton is not a match that... It's being built very Undertaker Mankind-esque, which is weird to me, with the boiler room stuff and them going through the arena trying to find each other in the mind games. This is a feud that 2 years ago would have been fucking great and probably would have looked good, and it probably would have been for the title, which is what it needed to be. Unfortunately, I don't see either of these. I think we might see Randy Orton and AJ Styles going at it in the next couple months, because I see Orton coming out of this feud as the winner with Wyatt. Unfortunately, anytime Wyatt's in a feud, I just assume he's going to lose, and a lot of that has to do with WWE's booking of him. Very talented, but it's gotten to a point where you don't care about him anymore, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I see Orton going over in that one. It would be weird to me if he didn't. Then you got the tag team title match. Heath Slater and Rhino versus the Usos for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. A lot of the stuff they're doing, like Heath Slater is so over right now, it is fucking ridiculous, and that's something I never thought I'd be saying in 2016. But him and Rhino have put together a program that has really worked. I would like to see them continue as tag team champions, but with them repackaging the Usos as heels pretty much, and changing the gear up, making them look like bad guys. It's what the Usos needed. They needed to be revitalized in some way because the fucking happy-go-lucky Samoan gimmick wasn't really working for them. I would have liked to have seen them turn heel along with Roman Reigns and form the quote-unquote Roman Empire, but having them turn heel on SmackDown isn't the end of the world. I think it's going to do some good for them, and I think they honestly will put the belts on them just because it's the new thing, and it's going to be weird if you have Heath Slater and Rhino feuding against American Alpha, because I think the Usos will be the transitional champions to get the belts on Alpha, because I think American Alpha is probably the strongest tag team on SmackDown, just as far as crowd reaction and work rate. And I think Jordan and Gable are going to be the guys who are going to be going forward the tag team to beat, so to say. And I think that this is pretty much going to be the transition to set up the feud between the Usos and American Alpha to get them to that next level, because Heath Slater and Rhino are over, and the last thing you want to do is have a tag team that's already over lose to another tag team that's already over, just for the simple fact that you're going to have to undercut somebody's momentum. And if you have Heath Slater and Rhino lose to the Usos and they cheat to win, if they win dirty, Slater and Rhino don't come out looking bad, and it gives them a viable reason to have a rematch kind of a thing, so you can kind of put the end of the storyline at some point, and it leads into the next feud, which I believe is going to be American Alpha versus the Usos, which is something I'd like to see. I want to see American Alpha win the tag titles, and I want to see some... Honestly, I want to see Dash and Dawson get called up to SmackDown, and that's the feud I want to see. Is the Revival versus American Alpha on WWE TV rather than NXT. Next up, you got the Miz versus Dolph Ziggler, the Intercontinental title versus versus Ziggler's career. This is a weird one for me, because I know how I would book it. And I would book it to take Ziggler off WWE TV for a little bit. Nothing against Ziggler. Always thought he was a good worker. Always thought he was really good in the ring, good on the mic, things like that. I think he's very I don't want to say underrated because everybody's always cheering for him and he's very over, or at least he has been for most of his career, just because of the way he works. Probably one of the best sellers there are. Selling is unfortunately a lost art that he has pretty much one-manned himself back into the art form and really shown that selling can extend your career and give you some longevity that is needed, unfortunately, because he doesn't win. And when he does win, he trades him. He's a very 50-50 book kind of guy, and this feud with The Miz has shown us how fucking good The Miz is, which is great. And it has shown us that Ziggler's still got some left in the tank, and he can still go. Because this feud with Corbin, this feud with Rusev, things like that, Ziggler needs to be put up against a guy more his size. Yeah, he's trying to be Shawn Michaels, but he's not Shawn Michaels. You're not going to get the same kind of quality of match out of Ziggler that you did Michaels, going up against big guys like you had like your Vaders, your Undertakers, your Kanes, your Big Shows, things like that. Like, Michaels worked very well against bigger guys. Ziggler, as good of a seller as he is, his offense isn't believable enough, and his moves aren't believable enough that he would go over on a big guy. So having him in a feud against somebody like The Miz makes sense. And there's two ways I can see this booking going. In one side of it, you see Ziggler losing, standing up, giving the heartfelt goodbye to the crowd, blah, 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 all that stuff. You see him leave the ring, all that. And then you think he's gone. Obviously, he's not gone. He signed a contract extension. He's going to be there for a couple of years. And he's not leaving. But if they go that route, you can bring him back at the Rumble for a surprise entrant. Nobody's seen him since he lost to The Miz, and you can kind of rejuvenate him there. And you could also, if it just depends on the way they do it, because either way, I see Miz moving into the WWE title picture very soon. He's doing the best work of his career. His 2011 title run was unfortunately overshadowed by the fact that he was in the middle of the John Cena and The Rock feud. I think he did very good work. I don't think he should have been defending the title against Jerry the King Lawler and almost losing. He had great matches with John Morrison, things like that, leading into while he was champion, and he did good work. But a lot of that was overshadowed by the things WWE thought were more important than their champion. And I think right now, where Miz is at, playing probably the best heel role in WWE right now, I think he's going to move into the title picture one way or another. Either by, you can't turn him face. Please don't turn him babyface. Babyface Miz doesn't work because he's not a sympathetic character. He works very well as a heel because he's got a very brash personality. If you're going to keep the belt on AJ and have Miz move into the feud with him, I think you need to flip AJ face. I know it's kind of like that weird thing where AJ came in as a face and he turned heel. It'd be weird to turn him face again. But at the same time, if the feud necessitates that, that's what you need to do. Or honestly, move the title off AJ, which I know everybody's out there is going, don't take the belt off AJ, don't take the belt off AJ. Let's just all call it a win that AJ won the title. I call that a pretty big fucking win. It's a guy who I never thought would win a WWE championship, and that's not lack of ability, it's improper booking in WWE. But he's won the belt. My hair is just doing all sorts of crazy fucking shit today. And if they move it off and move it on to a guy like John Cena or a Dean Ambrose again, I would rather see it on Cena. And everybody's like, why, blah, 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 all that shit. Ambrose doesn't work as the champion for me. There's something about him that just doesn't fucking work. His little shtick of being the lunatic fringe and everything like that it's good on paper, but it doesn't really work out the way you want it to work. So it's just one of those things where it's like, oh well, I don't want to see Ambrose as champion again. Having Cena win 16 and tie Flair is awesome, because that leaves the end of his career open for breaking the record, and if anybody deserves to break the record, it's Cena. And to be honest, Flair's won 16 world championships, but he didn't win them all with one company. So that sets Cena apart from him right there. Cena winning 17 WWE championships, whether it be World Heavyweight WWE, WWE World Heavyweight, it means a lot more. And I think that the culmination of his career should be him winning and defending that title, much like Edge did at Mania. I want to see Cena defend the title at Mania and retire the next night. That's just me. Or I want to see him lose the belt to Undertaker at Mania and retire the next night. Either way, I think Cena needs to go out at the end of a Mania having his last match be the main event, because he deserves it. But regardless, the way that I see this getting booked is you either have Miz win and Ziggler go off into the sunset, or at least for a couple months, or you have Ziggler win and immediately move Miz into the title picture after the rematch that he gets. Then from that rematch, you have him lose to Ziggler again. You don't swap the belt back and forth just to keep Ziggler kayfabe in the company. If you put the belt on Ziggler, you let Ziggler run with it. If you keep the belt on Miz, you let Miz run with it up until he's going to drop it. But either way, I think Miz is moving into the main event picture after this, and it's well-deserved because of the work he's put in. So this one I'm kind of split on, but I'm going with what makes the most sense to me is Miz winning and Ziggler riding off into the sunset for a little bit. Next up, we've got the SmackDown Women's Championship, Becky Lynch versus Alexa Bliss. I thought I was not going to like Alexa Bliss when she got called up. I thought it was just going to be somebody who did less for the women's wrestling movement than did more for it. Much like the way I see Dana Brooke on Raw, which is nothing against Dana Brooke. She's just not at that level yet, which is, like I said, nothing against her. I think she will get there, but she's not there yet. And Alexa Bliss, to me, is very entertaining to watch. The Harley Quinn cosplay definitely didn't hurt. I'm a big Harley Quinn fan, so it was nice to see that. But I think Bliss brings something to a heel persona that you haven't seen in a while, which is a female heel that doesn't need help to win, and a female heel that is vicious. Like, you have Charlotte, who can be vicious, but she's always got help. Charlotte is very not a one-woman wrecking crew. She needs backup. Bliss, on the other hand, strikes me more as what you would expect your champion to be, which is don't take any shit from anybody and win by any means necessary, which is what you should have in a heel. You should have somebody, like, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with a heel who has to cheat to win or a heel who has to have friends to help win. Seth Rollins did an entire year run as champion doing it, and it was fucking great. Kevin Owens is having a run right now that's good, and he's doing the same thing. JBL had a good run where he needed help to win. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, Bliss is the other side of that heel, which is take no shit, do what you need to do to win, but I don't need friends to do it. I can do it on my own. Unfortunately, I don't see her winning the belt. I think Becky's going to retain, which is the right call. If you want to revitalize your women's division and everything like that and introduce it to SmackDown audiences, you don't want to flip-flop that belt around too much. Keeping it on Becky is the right call. Becky is the best worker on SmackDown. Bliss is showing herself to be very good in her own right, but Becky's got the experience edge, and I think Becky's the right person to keep that title on for right now. But I think Bliss is the one I want to see take it off of her at some point in the future, not right now. You've got the triple threat match for the WWE World Championship, or WWE Championship, whatever they're calling it these days. AJ Styles versus Dean Ambrose versus John Cena. Kind of talked about this earlier when I was talking about the Miz versus Ziggler. The way I see this match playing out is I don't see Dean winning. That's just, it's not in the cards. I hope it doesn't happen. It doesn't need to happen. It shouldn't happen. I want to see AJ retain, but I also want to see Cena win. And it's one of those things where I'm not the world's biggest John Cena fan. I'm not buying his merch. I'm also not going to boo him. Because, unfortunately, a lot of people have this impression that John Cena can't wrestle. John Cena has put a career together. He debuted in 2002 on SmackDown in a match against Kurt Angle. That was 14 years ago, and he's still going strong. Yeah, he's a little bit more of a part-timer now, but that's understandable given the fact that he's branching off in other media. The Rock did the same thing when he was on his way out. And I think Cena is ultimately on his way out. But at the same time, I think Cena has earned the right to go out on top. He has earned the right to go out with that belt around his waist or over his shoulder. But at the same time, AJ did just win the belt. It would be odd to take it off of him right away. So it's one of those toss-up things where if you take the belt off AJ, do you undercut all of his momentum? Or do you have Dean do something dirty to AJ as retaliation for the low blow, and Cena just happen to be the one who picks up the win, which eliminates Ambrose from the title picture. You can move him down into the Intercontinental title picture, which is where he belongs, in my opinion. And then you can leave AJ and Cena to feud for the next month, leading into, I believe it's Survivor Series. And an AJ-Cena match at Survivor Series, they've already put on quite a few good matches. And I wouldn't be opposed to seeing a fourth match with these guys as a singles match. Yeah, I know WWE does a lot of the same shit over and over again. And, oh, tune in Monday for the same match you saw last week and all that shit. If it's good, and especially with a guy like AJ who's very new to the company, yeah, you'd like to see him take on other people. Like AJ versus The Miz would be awesome to me because I think Miz is a good worker. But at the same time, AJ versus Cena headlining a Survivor Series pay-per-view, now that's something I could get behind. Because unless you have him move into a feud with Orton, or a feud with Bray, or a feud with anybody else other than Dean Ambrose or Cena seems to be the most logical choice to continue going forward with the momentum until Cena ultimately leaves to go do his other things. But I think AJ's probably going to walk out with a belt. It'd be weird to take it off him, but I think it's either going to be AJ or Cena. I'm pushing for AJ. I wouldn't be upset if Cena wins it. And honestly, if Cena wins it, it makes more sense for him and AJ to feud because AJ gets his rematch and things like that. And you can continue their feud that they've had. I honestly think it makes more sense for Cena to win the Rumble and challenge AJ at Mania to win his 16th. That would be the best booking decision in my opinion. But unfortunately, this may be Undertaker's last Mania. So Cena and Undertaker needs to happen at this Mania. So I don't see them going that route with it. If Undertaker does end up wrestling, if he ends up not showing up to Mania this year, which is also a possibility, it would be sad to not have him there, but it happens. I think we're going to see this match I'm up in the air on. I just know it's not going to be Dean. I'm thinking it's going to be AJ, but I wouldn't be upset if it was Cena. So I'm picking AJ to win. And then a couple other things that they've kind of built. You've got Nikki Bella versus Carmella, which it's a pre-show match. It is what it is. I don't think Carmella has the in-ring ability to really carry a feud with anybody, let alone Nikki Bella, who, yes, has improved as a wrestler, but I still don't think she's good, which is not a knock against her. She was brought in to be a piece of ass. She wasn't brought in to be a wrestler, which a lot of the divas were back at that time. It wasn't until you got your 4 horsewomen in NXT and NXT started focusing on women's wrestling, which it should have been a focus all along, but they were so busy giving us the models that they forgot to give us the athletes. And I think Carmella is going to get better. I just don't think she's had enough work in the ring to be good yet, and I don't think Nikki's good. So it's not. I don't think it's going to be a good match. It's going to be pre-show material if it even happens. But I would give the edge to Nikki just because she's more of a name. And the other match they've kind of been building is Baron Corbin versus Jack Swagger. I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck they're doing with Baron Corbin. They're building him. And it feels like they build him up, and they cut his legs out by putting him in these feuds that mean absolutely nothing. Corbin should still be in NXT. Corbin should be in NXT challenging for the NXT title because I think you would put good matches on with Joe. I think you put good matches on with Nakamura because those guys can carry him. Jack Swagger is not a guy who can carry Corbin. Ziggler could carry Corbin. Apollo Crews could carry Corbin. I just don't see Swagger doing it. Swagger is a guy who had enough of a gimmick that was enough like Kurt Angle when Kurt Angle was popular in TNA that they put him over in WWE. Pretty much the only reason Swagger's still in the company is because he's Angle-esque. But Swagger, to me, is a guy who doesn't need to be on WWE TV. Doesn't make sense to me. He shouldn't be feuding with anybody right now. He has no momentum. He hasn't done anything in a while. The last good thing he did was the fucking Real Americans with Cesaro. Other than that, he's lost to Rusev quite a bit, but he doesn't do much. And if they end up going forward with this feud, unfortunately, I think it's gonna push Baron Corbin further down to where people care about him even less. Which that's not what you want for a guy who you're trying to build, and it's unfortunate that he's in that kind of position. But and I would assume that the winner of that match would be Baron Corbin. It would make no sense for Jack Swagger to go over. Even 50-50 booking, that doesn't make sense. Sorry, got a text message. And then as far as other things I wanted to talk about with this, just kind of what you guys can expect from this particular show. Once I come up with a name, I'll give you a name. Haven't thought of one yet. But it's going to be a lot of things talking about how I would book things differently. Like you have how WWE should have booked over on What Culture. I know there's an article for PW Pop of somebody booking things differently. I am a big fan of doing my own type of booking, going back, rebooking storylines or booking future storylines. So I will be putting out videos like that. I will also be doing reviews of pay-per-views, things like that. I don't watch Raw and SmackDown. I don't have cable, and honestly, I just don't have the desire to watch 5 hours of programming a week because it's fucking exhausting, and most of the time the product's not great. I'm not knocking the company, I'm not knocking the business. There's a lot of good wrestling going on. Storyline wise, I just don't think it's up to par with what it should be and what we've seen in the past. And that's unfortunate. I think it will get back to that point, but I'm not sure it will. It's just not happening yet. I think we're heading in the right direction, which is good. Other things I'm probably going to talk about if news comes up, like the TNA sale, things like that. Obviously, TNA didn't get sold. It has somehow staved off extinction again. If there's rumor mill, things like that, I'll talk about a lot of the stuff and the way I feel about it. I have no insider information. If I say something, it's completely my biased opinion and it has nothing to do with anything I've heard. It may be something I read on a website. I don't know anybody in the business really, so I have no inside information. If you're watching this, it's because you like my opinion or think my opinion's worth something. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to get the first video out there, talk about No Mercy coming up. I may do a couple other videos, how I've seen the brand extension so far and what I think it is and how I think they can improve it going forward, things like that. But yeah, this has been first episode of my wrestling show. Still don't have a title, but if you like what you've seen or heard, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, give me a like, subscribe, share the video, leave some comments for me. If you think you want to see me book something, I've done a couple of things here and there with booking. If you want to see something booked a certain way or thought something was booked poorly, leave me a comment, tell me what you want to see booked differently, and I will give my way to book something better. But yeah, this has been Sketchier Clown. Thank you for watching.